If you've been following along with our previous videos on the universe, or better yet, reading the books we're continuously recommending, by now you are beginning to get the idea of what the Illuminist model of the universe looks like. We've seen how scientific materialism is actually a philosophy which has numerous logical holes and inconsistencies, and how mathematical idealism and rationalism can both account for the many wonderful things modern science has produced while resolving materialism's internal contradictions. We've introduced some of the most fundamental ideas of the one and only formalization of mathematical idealism, called ontological mathematics, including how something can actually be equal to nothing as a result of the generalized Euler equation, aka the God equation. How a six-dimensional universe comprised of three real dimensions and three imaginary dimensions leaves no room for any mathematical gaps, and why ontological sinusoidal waves are the only possible building blocks for our world, a world which can be best conceptualized as a shared dream. We've explored the enigma of the appearance of matter, life, mind, the so-called hard problem of consciousness, and its emergence in the breakdown of the bicameral mind. And we have discussed how these ideas relate to some of humanity's deepest psychological ideas, such as the emergence of self-consciousness, the personal and collective unconscious mind, Jungian psychology and archetypes, how to explain consciousness, and the wonders humanity may have in store if we can truly wake up. Today, we'll be tackling another profound mystery of the universe and the mind: free will. The question is, as Mike Hockney asked, are you free? Or are you a machine that suffers from a delusion that it's free? Free will is perhaps the most important subject of all, because if we are authentically free, scientific materialism is ipso facto false, and the world is in urgent need of a revolutionary paradigm shift. Only in a mathematical universe can we be free. Only in a mathematical universe can we have a soul, and in a mathematical universe, free will is much better understood as will to power, and to have an intimate connection with cosmic symmetry and God. It's all in the math. What does Mike Hockney mean here? How does the question of free will fit into ontological mathematics and Illuminism? For the truth seeker who is looking for the answer to the question of free will, there is nowhere better to begin than the book Free Will and Will to Power by Mike Hockney. This book, along with the hundreds of accompanying works which are listed on the website Faustians.com, represent the most consistent and complete explanation of existence available today. Now on the Grail search, we will be introducing the answer to the question of free will, provided in these books by the most controversial secret society in the world, the Pythagorean Illuminati. We'll start first by exploring the antithetical position referenced by Mike Hockney in the previously mentioned quote, "The denial of free will." From the scientific materialism paradigm, the universe is composed exclusively of material things. The science establishment would argue that the only reason for change is the interaction between these material things, which are strictly determined by the mechanical laws of physics. From this perspective, if humanity was able to build a computer with limitless memory and processing power, program it with the laws of physics, and submit the position and momentum of every subatomic particle in the universe, we would have what is known as Laplace's demon. If scientific materialism were true, we could use this computer to rewind the universe to the moment of the Big Bang and fast forward the universe into the future with perfect fidelity. Using this tool, there would be no event we could not predict. We could watch the Big Bang itself, see the formation of the moon in Earth's infancy, play out the Chicxulub impact that wiped out the dinosaurs, Watch you remake every decision you have ever made in your life. See every choice you will ever make. Learn how our lives are sure to end, and see the end of the world and this universe. In this system, there is zero scope for free will. Every thought you've ever had or will have, every moment you have ever experienced or will experience, and every action you have ever made or will ever make was predetermined at the moment of the Big Bang. Take a moment now, pause this video if you like, and decide if you are going to raise your left hand or your right hand or do nothing. Did you make a decision? Did you make a choice? According to modern science, no. Your behavior just now was actually predetermined before the first stars formed. In this system, the words I have written for this video, your decision to listen to them or turn this video off, the consequences that result from that decision, the qualia we experience along the way, the illusion that we have control over these decisions, and everything else in existence was determined at the same moment, the instant of the Big Bang. This view is called hard determinism. In hard determinism, free will is nothing more than a strange, inconsequential illusion. But how would it be possible for there to be an illusion of something that does not exist? If freedom did not exist, how can we even conceptualize the idea of freedom? For what reason would evolution go to all of the trouble to produce this illusion if it could not influence the clockwork operation of an unfeeling universe? How can the problem of the philosophical zombie be explained? As always, the scientific establishment is silent on any questions that challenge its materialistic meta-paradigm. Illuminism, as the most advanced expression of rational idealism, refutes hard determinism. Illuminism also rejects another common attempt to justify free will, indeterminism, a direct conclusion of the fact that we clearly live in an ordered cosmos with intelligible laws, and the stability to support life and evolution is that an indeterministic foundation is impossible. Indeterminism, when properly understood, is the equivalent of chaos. Contrary to the irrational assertions of scientific materialism, chaotic systems can never produce deterministic lawful systems. If you could interact with some external indeterministic system, it would be completely, indeterministic. Any input you give it will return a totally random output. Even if you give it the same input over and over, you'll never get any sort of reliable output you can build with. We, without question, live in a deterministic universe. But if this is the case, how can it be possible for free will to exist? Illuminism asserts compatibilism is the true basis of free will. Compatibilism is the philosophical position that describes how free will is fully consistent and compatible with a deterministic universe. This is not a plea for indeterministic processes leading to the emergence of both free will and deterministic materialism, which, on top of the previously mentioned flawed logic, leads to the classic problem of Cartesian substance dualism between the deterministic and the non-deterministic parts of the universe, but instead argues that free will itself and the actions of mind are deterministic in nature. To conceptualize this theory, it is valuable to draw an analogy between the workings of mind and the internet. The internet is a system of interconnected nodes, which exchange information with various nodes throughout the network. If node A sends a signal to node B, then B will receive this signal, process it internally according to its own configuration, and optionally send A a response. This response, of course, will be heard by A, be processed according to its configuration, and optionally continue communicating. We can build on this process by adding any number of additional nodes to the network, where any signal can be sent to any number of nodes eliciting any number of responses. In the above network, we can say that if node A sent the first signal, it is the primary cause of any resulting signals in the system. However, if we extend this system to be infinite in duration with no beginning and no end, is it possible to pinpoint the first cause of the system? It is impossible. You could never say node A produced this or that effect on its own, because node A's actions were informed by the action of node B, which itself had its own causes for its action, and so on. While actions and reactions in this system are produced deterministically, we must consider each node to be a causal center of the system. All inputs to the system, or the absence of any, originate in nodes according to their own configuration. This is an effective way to conceptualize the interactions of monads in ontological mathematics and Illuminism. At the beginning of a cosmic age, all monads are in a state of perfect harmony, perfect balance, and zero entropy. An instant later, a symmetry-breaking event triggers the Big Bang. The Big Bang produces a finite but incomprehensibly large network of nodes with their own unique configuration. Over the course of a cosmic age, we drive the universe to its teleological conclusion of perfect symmetry. Once this goal has been achieved, the hourglass turns over in a new symmetry-breaking event, and we again find ourselves at a new beginning. This is what is meant when we say no beginning and no end. The universe in actuality exists in an eternal cycle of cosmic ages with precisely defined beginnings and ends, just as we see in the reflection of the sinusoidal wave. As above, so below. In Illuminism, the nodes in this system are, in fact, monads, which subjectively experience the universe, decide how they wish to act according to their own sufficient reasons, and enact their will, which influences the world and minds around them. They are, of course, also influenced by the action of other monads in the network, as well as their own internal contemplation. We, as monadic minds which exist together in a mathematical singularity outside of space and time, have access to every thought in existence, albeit unconsciously, and consequently the option to tune into the thought patterns we most prefer. While we have the greatest access to the thoughts we create ourselves, the patterns of thought that emerge from the noise of the collective we exist in inevitably influence our own thought patterns. Even for the most powerful minds in existence who create the most influential thought patterns, it is impossible not to be influenced by the patterns of the monadic collective. The dominant patterns of the collective unconscious are commonly known as archetypes. The extent that this archetype or that archetype influences us in our lives is a function of what patterns we most resonate with. But how does this produce the scope for free will? As Nietzsche stated, this world is the will to power, and nothing besides. And you yourselves are also this will to power, and nothing besides. The fundamental drive of every monad is the teleological process of actualizing its full potential. This is primarily played out as the expression of the will to power. We are not free to disregard our will to power. When seeking to make a decision what action to take in a given situation, or if and how our node responds to the prompt of another node, we evaluate a countless number of potentialities in order to determine how we can maximize our power in the given situation, and then select the one we believe to achieve this end. You may find this hard to believe, pointing to scenarios where people seem to act selflessly in some cases and cowardly in others. But if we were able to gain a complete picture of the situation, where the motivations, disposition, priorities, etc. of those people are fully accounted for, the only decision that is ever made is the one that maximizes our idea of power. We are not free to act otherwise. We are, however, free to select the behavior we actualize, which will be in accordance to our personal power maximizing evaluation process. In any decision you ever make, no matter how inconsequential, there is always a sufficient reason why you choose option A rather than option B. Even if you flip a coin, you have prioritized an outcome, rated it more highly, based on this reason, even though the reason you chose can, from the point of view of an observer, be considered arbitrary. When we make a choice, nothing happens until we decide to exercise our will. The exercise of our will is the equivalent of our monadic mind sending a space-time command to our body. Sometimes our plans go how we expect them to, and we feel the pleasure of our power increasing. Other times our plans fail, and we feel like our power is decreasing, and we experience regret. The feeling of regret often comes with the thought, if I could go back, I would make a different choice. But if we consider any choice we make, we must decide with only the information we have available to us. If you went back in time, you would lose the benefit of hindsight, and again be faced with the problems of your past with the information you had at the time. And because you are you, and your monadic mind configuration is the way it is, you would be extremely likely to make the same choices again. In consideration of this, the authors of ArmageddonConspiracy.co.uk proposed 5 tests, which we can use when making major life decisions. The eternal recurrence test. This thing you are about to do. If you had to watch yourself performing this action an infinite number of times, would you still go ahead? If so, do it. If not, don't. The movie of your life test. This thing you are about to do. Would you want it to be in the movie of your life? The scenes that show you at your very best? If so, do it. If not, don't. The gravestone test. This thing you are about to do. Would you want it recorded on your gravestone after your death? If so, do it. If not, don't. The mirror test. This thing you are about to do. Will you be able to look at yourself in the mirror afterwards and feel proud of what you have done? If so, do it. If not, don't. The others test. This thing you are about to do. Will you be happy for others to know all about it? If so, do it. If not, don't. The AC authors went on to say, if you obey these 5 tests, you will never perform any acts that you are ashamed of. You will never lie and cheat. You will never be a slave to others, and you will never do pathetic, unworthy things. You will take pride in everything you do. You will be happy for others to know about your life. Your life will be the best it can be. Your life will be your personal masterpiece, sculpted by you to perfection. All other tests, such as those of religion, e.g. the 10 Commandments, the laws of your society, the expectations of family and friends, are 100% irrelevant. Some pseudo-intellectuals will claim that this is not true freedom, because if this is the case, we are not free to choose what we want. They argue that if we innately prefer option A over B, we are not free because we cannot choose to prefer option B instead. This position is, in truth, logically fallacious. Our will to power and the things that we want are precisely what makes us who we are. If we did not have this fundamental configuration, we would not be ourselves at all. We would be someone or something else entirely. Furthermore, if we were free to choose what we want, our foundational state would be one of not wanting anything at all. And if you did not want anything at all, why would you ever do anything at all? Why would you choose to want anything? You wouldn't! You would have no sufficient reason to. If we were free to choose what we wanted, we would want nothing, and none of us would have any reason to act. As a consequence, the universe would be in a permanent state of stagnation and inactivity. Life, striving, movement, and teleology are indispensable, inseparable aspects of the God equation. A sinusoidal wave must complete its wave cycle and bravely descend again into the next cycle. A wave is both its entire structure and its flowing point. This logic, which follows from the principle of sufficient reason, also reveals that the universe must always balance being and becoming. It can never be in a state of pure being, because just as stopping the flowing point causes the entire wave to vanish, eliminating the becoming aspect of the universe would cause the entire universe to vanish. It would spell the death of the universe. What each of us, as monadic minds, are therefore faced with is the question of how we can maximize our power. Should we follow the archetypal paths of total selfishness, or should we pursue total altruism and self-sacrifice? Shall we blaze our own trail, or attach ourselves to the safety of the herd? Should we fight against anyone who attempts to make us their slave, or should we worship the masters and be proud of our association with them? Is the right choice some middle way? Or maybe we should just withdraw from the world and become apathetic and nihilistic? Even if there is a path which is objectively the best option, it may subjectively seem like this is not the case, or too risky to implement. Alternatively, there could be an option which is objectively counterproductive, but seems like the right choice subjectively. Regardless of the path we choose, we are always improving on our internal model of the world and how we can best maximize our power. We can change paths at any point, as we are always free to do so. But our end goal shall always be the maximization of power. The uncertainty we all have regarding how to approach this problem, and the mistakes we make as a result, come as a matter of course, and they are overcome dialectically. The path we take is our own to choose, but the destination is defined. The fact that the universe aligns with the philosophy Compatibilism implies that we are all living, willful centers of causality. This fact means that we are free to determine our fate, and therefore the fate of the world and the universe itself, while each of us are guaranteed to traverse the cosmic chessboard in pursuit of actualizing our potential. How we accomplish this is entirely up to us. We are free to become psychologically trapped at the local maxima of power we discover on our journeys, just like we are free to courageously venture through any minima along our path. So go, never settle for anything less than the global maximum of power, where we merge with our higher self and become our true self. Until next time.
If you enjoyed this video, like it, leave a comment, and subscribe for more. Also, be sure to check out our link tree in the description to discover more and connect with us. You can also visit illumination.nexus or visit reddit.com/r/thegrailsearch and speak with us there. Thank you for watching.